Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the very first show here at Fair Hotel of the 2024. This Parliament had gone on recess in December. We are officially opening 2024 today, and this is our first show of this great Pan-African People's Parliament. My name is Andrew Irumba Katusa, your speaker, and we're always live here at Fair Hotel from 5 to 8 p.m. And the recorded version of the same runs on MBS Television, our co-sponsor of this show, on Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. I come back this time round with renewed energies, having been recognized and awarded on Monday by a friendly country, Cuba. Cuba, the vice president was here during NAM and the G77 plus China countries. And on the sidelines of those events, they actually called me and awarded me for my humanitarian and Pan-Africanism work that I've been doing. I think I deserve a round of applause. Why is this important to me is that since about 15 years now, since I started championing the Pan-African cause, no African has ever recognized my efforts. I am not complaining, I'm simply stating the fact that the works I have been doing in Africans, the Africans have never seen my importance. It is a friendly country away from the African continent called Cuba that actually saw that this boy needs to be appreciated. So I am very grateful for that opportunity, and I thank Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Cuba to Uganda, Rwanda and Burundi, Her Excellency Perez. And Perez is a very good friend of my senior comrade here seated, Senior Dando Garama. He was actually also appreciated together with his organization, the Pan-African Movement. That is our mother organization, because the Pan-African Movement is the national Pan-African movement, and it also hosts the international global chapter. The headquarters of Pan-Africanism are headquartered in Uganda and fused with the Pan-African Movement chapter. And the chairman of that is Comrade Dan Garama. I'm glad Dan Garama has joined us here. Ladies and gentlemen, on that very note, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso actually announced they were leaving ECOWAS. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso announced in 2024, I beg your pardon, that they had left ECOWAS, and they have not stopped from there. Actually, they have plans, they have made plans, and they have made it public that they intend to form a confederation following their exit from ECOWAS. And part of their message they are saying is the statement read, our excellent diplomats then recommended to the heads of state the creation of a confederation bringing together Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, awaiting the creation of a federation of the three countries, said Malian government spokesperson Abdoulaye Maiga on Thursday in a Facebook post. It was part of a speech the Americano delivered at a meeting that actually ministers of the three states held in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. Ladies and gentlemen, these three countries, they were actually being penalized for having led coups in their respective countries. And their argument has been, ECOWAS is trying to impose on us a leadership that actually continues to serve the interests of our former colonizers. So the argument was, the people of those three countries have come up together, gathered energies, and resisted the Western powers. You, ECOWAS, we're supposed to be protecting our interests as Africans and citizens of these respective countries. Instead, you want to impose on us a leader or three leaders that our countries and our citizens have ably explained are no longer taking care of our interests as the beneficiaries of those respective countries. So I ask, does this affect the Africa, or the One Africa dream that is being led by these regional blocs? You remember, our primary goal is to have one country called Africa. Then these other 54 countries can remain states. That's like you see, United States of America, United Kingdom, United Arab Emirates, all those are countries that they came together to form one united country. Africa is still weak because we continue to be divided, and we have accepted the division. We still respect the colonial boundaries, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi. Now there is Sudan, there is South Sudan, now there is Somalia, now there is Somaliland being made. You know, Somaliland. How is it different from Somalia? So, the more they divide us, the more they will continue using us at our own expense. So, these efforts of uniting one Africa to be one country have mainly been led or spearheaded by these regional blocs, such as ECOWAS, and in East Africa you can say the East African Community, because we are now 7 countries. That's the community. There is ECOWAS and there is these others. But all of us combined one day, we want to create a one united country called Africa. So, does this now threaten that big dream? When 3 countries come together and say we are creating our own, because we are no longer serving our interests, doesn't that threaten this dream? And this dream has been long ago, being said, but it has not been actually effective. Muammar Gaddafi said the same. Patrice Lumumba, before Muammar Gaddafi, had said the same, that unless the entire Africa is free, the entire Africa, Ghana cannot say I am independent, because tomorrow they will attack you and the rest of the countries will be looking on. Libya was attacked the other day. The rest of African countries were simply analyzing what was happening in Libya. And I saw the president of Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni, even explaining in one of his speeches that African leaders even took up a plane to go to Libya. And certain European powers told them, please don't continue, stop there and go back to your country. We shall take care of this. But these are African leaders going to solve African problems in African countries. And somebody outside Africa is telling you, don't go. Don't go. If you continue, this plane could be brought down. And that's why it stopped.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.
ECOWAS is the economic community of the West African states, if you want it in full. And it is not a young organization. It was started way back in 1975 when they were planning to probably give birth to some of us. And it has been on that the founding fathers have long since all gone to meet their creators. The driving factor for the creation of ECOWAS was mainly the economic integration. The membership, it is not a new thing. Way back then was 16 member states. As you very well know, Mauritania asked and it went off. We remained with 15. The 15 member states, 8 of them are French speaking and the rest are not. They are English and one more so other colonial languages, as you may be aware. recently, out of the remaining 15, 3, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger decided that they were calling it quits. What should be noted at the back of our mind is that Mali had been talked to at length. There was even an accord between Mali as a country and ECOWAS. There was a roadmap, a transitional roadmap on how they were going to hand over power to the civilian government. Additionally, the announcement that they had given each of those countries as they carried out was only 1 week in which to revert to civilian government, or else they were going to use military force. Like I said, it's not the first time we have had the ECOWAS use military force, because they actually amassed troops on the borders of Gambia, and they returned to civilian rule. This time around, it didn't work that way. Instead, the junta regimes in the respective countries went around the masses, the civilian masses, convinced them that this was an attack on their sovereignty, and that has been the argument. And what is happening in the respective countries is now to look at the entire bloc, now of 15 minus 3, as the enemy of the people, not just the regimes. And probably also worth noting is that what we now see is a situation that if, for instance, ECOWAS does not do reverse diplomatic engagement, although they had already announced that they are going to militarily intervene, which would have been a backfiring move, they still have the option of re-engaging in reverse and making sure that they do not lose the 3 member states, because that in itself is going to be a geostrategic miscalculation and blow if it is allowed to happen. Not only would they be losing numbers, but they are also going to weaken the organization, but at the same time play in the hands of those who have always wanted Africa disunited. If our main aim is to ultimately galvanize our energies to strengthening the African unity to the extent that we have got one government, as was espoused by Kwame Nkrumah, and now we have got again the disintegration of the same regional blocs upon whose tenets we are supposed to reach the pinnacle. It is going to be rather a tragedy. What should also be noted, dear comrades, is that as we talk about the ECOWAS and the activities in the 3 respective countries, the intentions of going away of the same countries from the regional bloc, there has also been other powers. On the African continent, we have also got some other superpowers on the African continent who play their own politics. As we talk now, because the very countries lie in the Sahel sub-region, we have always had the rebel activities. The announcement of the economic sanctions and other range of sanctions has not helped the rebel activities within the Sahel region, and particularly those countries. And what is happening is that majority of the rebels, the terrorists, majority of them have actually been, so it is said, Algerian reactivated. And the politics between Algeria and Morocco has been the politics of the cat and the mouse. What is happening now is that Morocco has opened her ocean waters to the three landlocked countries. And that, in a way, is to stab Algeria. And we are not sure, you would help me analyze as to whether what the three countries, by cooperating with Morocco to have access to the ocean waters so that they can resolve the issue of being landlocked, in effect annoying Algeria, and the terrorists, the rebel terrorists operating within the Sahel, are majority of them, if not all of them, Algerian led or sponsored. What kind of politics are going to play within the entire region now as it stands? I want also to tell you, dear comrades, that my other assessment in as far as the sanctions and the threat of the three countries getting out of ECOWAS is concerned is that they may not be progressive going forward, because I do not see how three landlocked countries who mainly have always traded by getting the support from other member countries of ECOWAS now intend to go about the activities alone. The journey they have started may be short-lived. Probably, I have got confidence that going forward, ECOWAS is also not going to lay back and admit that what the three countries have decided to do is something that they can leave and ignore the member states and allow the countries to go off just like Mauritania did. I have confidence that probably Tinubu, who was also new, because we must forgive him, he had just an old man, relatively old man, he had just assumed power as the president, and the entire region was in flames when he became the president, and he was also being given the chairmanship of the entire ECOWAS as a bloc. That challenge was a huge one, and probably he didn't get the old hands to help him in stabilization, in comforting him and stabilizing him in the chairmanship of such a huge bloc. Dear comrades, I want to conclude by telling you that I want to believe that ECOWAS is a fantastic establishment, that over the 49 years, the issues that they might have faced are the issues that are faced by any other organization. They may be having their own problems, but these problems are better corrected.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.
Now, Mr. Speaker, let me tell you, the post-colonial regimes did not actually first deal with colonial distortions, agreements, laws, and institutions that were established by imperials before they left. What you are seeing for
that is your opinion as well.
No, it is written.
It is a fact.
It's a fact. I'm going to show you. Like in Niger, last time we were talking about, and Mali. Mali had a permanent agreement with France, the former colony, that every budget they make in Mali, 40% of the budget has to be remitted to France Central Bank. Yes. You go and read. Yeah. You collect the money, the revenue, take it Central Bank in France, then France gives you back the money.
Yes. It is for all the countries.
You wait now.
For all the countries.
Yes. In Africa. Yes.
That is a fact. Nobody has doubted that, and that applies to all the countries that were colonized.
No, it's 54 countries of Africa.
Yes.
All of them.
No, the French colonized countries, about 14 of them. What Dr. Arkana Chikombori calls the colonized, the actual term is that it was the agreement. It was saying that every economy of the French West Africa had to have 40% of their reserves in the French Central Bank. And then they would borrow that money upon application. You have to apply that.
My money?
Yes. That's the fact.
Niger, the one which some of you said made against ECOWAS, 70% of their resources are taken by French companies.
Yes.
The natural resources.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Some cities in France, the power they are getting from a reunion is coming from Niger. But I'm telling you, anytime, what these people are doing actually in West Africa, this is a revolution. They are liberating West Africans. By the way, these guys, these are new breeds of Africa.
You're talking about those guys?
These ones?
Yes.
These are new breeds of Africa. For how long can you keep on watching? That military man cannot, let me tell you, where's the military or militia or LBU, so long as that person is pro-people, I will support. I don't care. A person who transformed Singapore was a general. Why are you not talking about him? The person who has transformed Uganda here to a certain extent is also a general. And he's one, by the way, the imperialists now want to fight him down. So you guys, these are serious matters, Mr. Speaker. Now,
As you wind up, comrade.
as I'm winding up, if you want a meaningful leadership of all these blocks, now you hear this, you must have one regional leadership. One regional leadership. You have a leader controlling the entire region, with the regional army, with the regional bank, with the regional currency. All these regional blocks that are there, the African Union is calling them pillars, that they are the pillars of African Union. African Union is like Kachai. Together Kachai, isn't it? It's a Ugandan Kachai. African Union is a political Kachai of Africa. That's where people meet to have tea. It is very common these days. Call you and say, where can we meet and have tea? Tell who is listening. African Union is evening Kachai for Africans, African leaders. Which tangible or binding laws have they ever, since it was established, that has ever action from that African Union? People are dying in Congo. Where is the African Union standby force? People are dying in Somalia. I mean in Sudan and South Sudan. So don't just create regional blocks and institutions that are not binding, neither are they binding. Create a binding institution that is pro-Africans.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bashir.
Good evening.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.
Right, Honorable Speaker, for today. today's debate, I want to kickstart here. I am personally in jubilation each time African states make very bold steps to refute the conceptualization of neocolonialism in NFAs. In as much as my grandfather, Dan Rugarama, raises so many questions about the mannerism, the methodology, and the sustainability of 3 landlord countries perceivably vulnerable. But in my own perception, first, you see, this happens at a time when entirely the whole of Africa is envisioning an integrated Africa. And one where we ought to rely very much on the cooperation of regional blocs. They will discuss it from an angle of who is right or wrong. But in my own perspective, I want to look at majorly 3 things. The implications of Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso leaving ECOWAS, precedents that have been set in the same regard, and then lastly, as I sum up the handling. First, there is going to be a disruption of progress towards the unification, but also most notably, a fragmentation of efforts of already establishing momentum to unite Africa. Secondly, we all can see that there is a state of ungovernability that has so far been created. Now, henceforth, I predict a condition where other African countries begin to feel like it is okay to vacate regional blocs for whatever reasons that they are going to give. Of course, economists are going to discuss it from the point of economic disruption. We can remember in 2019, Gambia withdrew from the ECOWAS monetary union. Now, it is very much surprising that they were not handled in the same manner these 3 countries are being handled. Politicians, like we call them, also will want to look at the point of political isolation. What is the pro-look of these countries on the regional face? All that is going to be there. The losing of developmental assistance, I think that happened to, if Comrade Dan Rugawaka, in 2003 to Zimbabwe when it left the Commonwealth. That one was clearly evidenced. However, I would also like to argue that this decision for the 3 countries to leave ECOWAS does not necessarily derive that the larger vision of Africa and the efforts that are being made on a continental level to promote the 2063 agenda are over or they are nowhere. Now, you asked a question about how Morocco comes into the equation to go beyond its way and assist 3 landlocked countries. If we recall that in 1984, the then president of Morocco was King Hassan II. Morocco also made such a decision to leave OAU. In 2017, everybody has an opinion whether the reasons were selfish. It may not be selfish from the side of Morocco. From the side of OAU, they may look selfish. The good news is in 2017, Morocco rejoined. We have also seen precedentally that in 2009, Madagascar also withdrew from SADC. And they had their reasons. That was under President Mark Lovaramana. That also happened. Now, at this point, I want us to look at the point of handling. Because we now have 2 sides that are beginning to believe that you are provoking me to the extent that my hands are getting closer to the node.
To the node, to leave.
To the node of the gun.
Yes.
I am being provoked, my hands are getting closer to the node, and I am about to act. Now, our question should be, where does that leave the agenda, the people of those countries and the entire Africa? Now, in whichever way they choose to handle, in whatever form of context, now dictates whether there is going to be a resolution or an escalation of the catastrophe. this is where reliable Pan-Africans must now look at harmonizing the two sides, because similar precedences, like I've said, have been set. One would be choose to look at multilateralism and supranationalism. All those are there as a subject of discussion. And of course, anybody would entail and fling the discussion to whatever angle they choose to come from. But what is important at the end of the day is choosing an amicable way to handle. But one thing is clear, that everybody is going to develop their own perspective, depending on what angle they are standing and what is their point of entrance. But for me, what makes a lot of sense at the end of the day is the contextual handling that we are going to use as an Africa that envisions integration at the end of the day. I so submit.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa. Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.
Thank you. Allow me to protocol observed. My name is Sachi Joran. About this East Africa, the ECOWAS, we find that neo-colonialism is not the key to deliver the
objectives of the African people.
Yes, it's not. It's not the only way. The one way is Africans, we have to come together, fight together, so that we can have the united Africa.
Thank you.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.
Leaving the ECOWAS was not a solution for the problems they presented to have caused them leave. And for any cause, if at all a coalition, then leaving the coalition has never been a solution. I was thinking when I saw...
What about when your interests are not being taken care of? For the last 49 years, your interests are not being taken care of. Should we stay in that home?
I will not say that. I will not leave, but I will try to make sure that
fighting within.
I fight within.
For the last 49 years, you have not achieved, but you continue fighting within.
If I fail to fight within, then I create something of the same character.
It's exactly what they are doing now, so you agree with them. It's exactly what they are doing.
Okay.
They have exited, they are creating their own.
Okay. So that was my opinion. If at all things have failed within the house, I think it is better to make that same house of a different caliber and make sure that the intentions of the house that would have made them leave be attained to. So what was my worry was something that was made in 1975, if I'm not mistaken, of a cause, people who saw a vision, the Pan-Africans of the time that saw a vision that it was really a matter to address, and they made that organize the community. But in the 21st century, where more signs of neocolonialism have always shown to emerge more than they were emerging before, our brothers and sisters cannot try their level best to address the problems our fellow brothers are facing, so that we remain in a coalition. For me, my belief is these regional organizations were a step forward to achieve our goal as one Africa. Therefore, I think we should always put much emphasis on these regional organizations. They are so much, because at least we can say that Africa is in 4 branches, if it was the case that we have 4 branches. People are organized at least in 4 regions. That would make me think that at least we are chasing a realistic goal.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.
I will agree that the decision taken by the 3 leaders to exit the ECOWAS is not a good one, but it was necessary. Because if you look at the provision they gave before leaving the community, you will agree with me that the only option they were left with is leaving the ECOWAS. And of course, I think that is for a start, and we are going to be seeing other countries exiting from different communities.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.
Economic community of West African states, we realize that the major objective of this community were economical benefits. And these will include trade, common currency, resource sharing, and business. The decision made by the 3 states of ECOWAS, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, does not affect the unity of regional blocs, but rather cause some effects in the short term. It's important to remember that the vision made by an integrated Africa is far bigger and great than the action taken by these smaller countries, individual countries, and regional blocs. The dream of Africa is the long-term goal, and many other regional blocs have tried for it and achieved it. However, it is very important to continue fostering collaboration and dialogues among African states to ultimately achieve the vision and cohesion and the unity of Africa.
mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.
We want to see a united Africa. That's our dream. We had already got this organization. My question is, do we need these organizations or not? Do we need them or not? We need them.
I think that we need them.
Now, even we want to see a united Africa, and then we are inviting more. They already established organizations. We are fragmenting them the more. Which unit are we fighting for as Africans?
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.
So, we have to get reminded, as far as this topic is concerned, that ECOWAS, among other regional bodies, is actually the oldest, in the sense that we are not looking at the continent of the African Union goes well back in 1963. And in all this now coming 50 years, what it has achieved, it has only had one member, losing one member, which was Mauritania. And what it has achieved is very astronomical. And like I said, with all the challenges, for instance, in the African Union, you cannot advance an argument that you want to have members subscribing to the African Union getting out simply because the African Union has not achieved what it was supposed to achieve. It's just a question of time when it is work in progress. Sometimes, of course, we hinge against some of these things when we are debating. You have to be a little bit cautious, because if we broke the table during the debate, you are not going to achieve what you want to achieve, so you need it. The same thing, of course, as United Nations, and we know the United Nations is invested with some challenges. But still, we cannot run from it. We have to reform from within, and we shall achieve what we want. And if you can't, like the other bodies, like World Bank and IMF, International Monetary Fund, yes, you can get out, but the way you exit, like the formation of the BRICS, you all know how we exited and how the BRICS is performing. Still work in progress. For those of you who may not know, BRICS is not a young thing, but the way they exited manifested their maturity and their ability to move forward and correct the ills that were being exhibited in the World Bank and IMF. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, I want to caution the audience here, including that one online, that we have to be very mindful of the kind of gains we have gotten so far from the revolutions that have been carried out in the three countries. We have guard against the encroachment. Because I am not so sure, I had a young man, one of the debaters here saying, I'm not so sure with the American forces in some of these other countries, with the Wagner forces in some of these countries, by chasing away the
Wagner is Russia.
Exactly. By chasing away these forces, are we so sure that the Wagner forces, the Russian, the American bases which are still being established, because America has now forgotten her friend, the French, the fellow thief, and they are negotiating behind their back and they are retaining their own diplomatic relations. Are we so sure that we are getting our act together, or we are running away from an open space where it is raining and going to an open tree, claiming that we are actually shielding ourselves away from the rain? I thank you so much.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.
Follow this debate on NBS television from 4 to 5 p.m. My name is Andrew Irumba Katusa, and I sign out.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusa.